What if I told you that the guy you assume has no feelings for you is actually obsessed with you, but he's too scared to admit it? What if all those moments where he seems distant, indifferent, or emotionally unavailable aren't because he doesn't care, but because he cares too much? You might think he's just being polite or friendly, but what if his silence, his hesitation, or even the way he avoids eye contact is actually a desperate attempt to control his emotions before they betray him? See, here's the truth. When a man secretly loves you but is afraid to show it, he doesn't always act the way you'd expect. He won't necessarily shower you with compliments, flirt openly, or make his feelings obvious. In fact, sometimes the guys who feel the deepest emotions are the ones who try the hardest to suppress them. They'll hold back, pull away, or even act completely uninterested, just to keep themselves from getting too vulnerable. And that's where most women get confused, because they mistake his restraint for a lack of feelings when, in reality, it's the opposite. But here's the real shocker. There's one specific behavior that almost every man does when he's secretly in love, and most women never notice it. It's not the way he talks to you, but the way he reacts when he thinks you're not looking. It's in the way he unconsciously mirrors your movements, the subtle nervousness in his voice, the small, seemingly insignificant things he does that reveal everything he's trying to hide. In fact, sign 5 is something 99% of women completely overlook. But once you recognize it, you'll never look at him the same way again. Number 1, he treats you differently when no one else is around. Have you ever noticed that when you're alone with him, he's so much more open, relaxed, and comfortable? But the moment other people are around, it's like he puts up a wall? Think about it. When it's just the two of you, he's engaging, playful, and maybe even a little flirty. He shares personal things with you, he listens intently, and you can feel the connection. But as soon as other people are in the room, it's like he flips a switch. Suddenly, he's distant. His body language becomes stiff. He barely acknowledges you, or worse, he acts like you're just another person in the room. This is not a coincidence. It's a defense mechanism. If he has feelings for you but is trying to hide them, he doesn't want anyone else to catch on. Maybe he's afraid of being teased, maybe he's unsure if you feel the same, or maybe he's just not ready to face his emotions. But whatever the reason, the contrast in his behavior is a dead giveaway. If you ever catch him switching between warm and cold depending on who's around, take it as a sign that he's struggling to keep his true emotions buried. Number 2, he holds eye contact, then looks away quickly. There's something powerful about eye contact, isn't there? It's one of the most subconscious ways our emotions betray us. And for a guy who's trying to hide his feelings, his eyes will be his biggest weakness. Have you ever caught him staring at you from across the room, only for him to look away the second your eyes meet? It happens so fast, but you know what you saw. Here's what's actually happening. When a man is secretly in love, his brain releases a surge of dopamine whenever he sees you. This causes him to stare. He can't help it. But at the same time, his rational mind is screaming at him to not make it obvious. So what does he do? He looks away. He pretends it never happened. But the pattern doesn't stop there. If you keep noticing him stealing glances at you, watching you when he thinks you're not looking, or seeming mesmerized whenever you're talking or laughing, it's a major sign that he's desperately trying to suppress his emotions. And here's a little trick. The next time you catch him staring, don't look away first. Hold the eye contact for just a second longer. If he gets nervous, blushes, or starts fidgeting, you just caught him red-handed. Number 3, he overexplains why he's not into you. One clear sign that a guy is secretly into you, but too afraid to admit it, is when he constantly overexplains why he's not interested. Instead of just treating you like any other friend, he repeatedly brings up how there's nothing between you. He might casually say things like, "Oh, we're just friends. I don't see you that way." Or, "You're amazing, but I'm not really looking for anything right now." At first, you might believe him and think he truly doesn't have feelings for you. But ask yourself this. If he genuinely didn't like you, why does he feel the need to keep saying it? A man who has no romantic interest wouldn't go out of his way to convince you, or himself, of it. The fact that he keeps reinforcing this idea suggests that he's struggling with his emotions, trying to suppress feelings he's not ready to face. Deep down, he knows that if he stops reminding himself of the "just friends" narrative, his real emotions might slip out, and that terrifies him. Number 4. His mood changes based on your attention. Have you ever noticed how his entire energy shifts depending on whether you're paying attention to him? It's almost like he's emotionally synced with you. When you laugh with him, acknowledge him, or include him in conversations, he lights up. His eyes sparkle, his body language becomes more open, and he seems genuinely excited just to be in your presence. You can feel the difference. He's engaged, playful, and maybe even a little extra charming. But the moment your attention drifts elsewhere, everything changes. If you start talking to another guy or even just seem a little distant, his whole mood shifts. He suddenly becomes quieter, less involved in the conversation, or even a little irritated for no obvious reason. He might pretend not to care, but his subtle reactions say otherwise. Whether he realizes it or not, his emotions are tied to you. The highs of your attention and the lows of your distance affect him more than he wants to admit. And here's the thing, if a man's mood depends this much on you, it's not by accident. It means your presence holds more weight in his heart than he's willing to show. Number 6. He jokes about liking you, but never fully admits it. A man who is secretly into you but afraid to admit it will often test the waters with playful jokes about being together. Instead of directly expressing his feelings, he'll disguise them as casual, light-hearted comments like, "Can you imagine if we were dating? That would be hilarious." Or, "People probably think we're a couple." On the surface, it seems harmless, just friendly teasing. But if you pay attention, you'll notice a pattern. He keeps slipping these remarks into conversations, almost as if he's hoping you'll respond in a way that reassures him. This is his way of hinting at his feelings without making himself vulnerable. Deep down, he's afraid of what happens if he fully admits how he feels, so instead, he turns it into a joke. But the fact that he keeps bringing it up, that's not random. It's his subconscious way of revealing that the thought of being with you is already on his mind. If you recognize these signs, don't brush them off, because they're not just random behaviors. They're subtle confessions from a man who is struggling with his own emotions. He might not say the words out loud, but his actions, his reactions, and his inability to fully walk away all reveal the truth. He feels something deep for you. He's just afraid to let it show. So what should you do? If you like him too, don't wait for him to gather the courage to make a move. Help him feel safe enough to do so. Mirror his warmth, tease him back, and show him that being vulnerable around you isn't something to fear. Sometimes, a guy just needs a little encouragement to break through his own hesitation. If he feels comfortable enough to let his guard down, he might finally stop hiding and give in to what his heart has been telling him all along. But here's the bigger question: how long are you willing to wait for him to finally admit his feelings? At some point, you have to ask yourself, do you want someone who hesitates? Or do you deserve someone who isn't afraid to show how much they want you? A man who truly values you won't make you second-guess his feelings. He won't play the push-and-pull game forever. He'll step up, make his intentions clear, and choose you, without fear, without doubt, and without hiding behind excuses. So, the decision isn't just about him. It's about you. Will you wait for him to figure it out? Or will you open yourself up to someone who already knows your worth? Do not wait, tell in the comment.